You can also give us a call on 0990200 655. You could speak to our first guest. Now, I've loved boxing all of my life, and there's been two guys in the history of the sport who've been as fascinating outside the ring as they have been inside it. One of them was a guy by the name of Muhammad Ali. The second one is Mr. Chris Eubank, who's our guest. Thank you so much for coming on, Chris.
Thank you very much.
Can I start by clearing up exactly your situation just now? When, where, and who will you be fighting next?
No idea.
Right.
No idea. My next fight will probably be in Abu Dhabi. I'm trying to organize a fight here in the United Kingdom, but that's proving very difficult because I can't afford to actually promote and fight myself in this country. To do it in the Middle East was plausible, and it was plausible because I'm the only promoter out there, and it's never been there before. So in many respects I'm pioneering, and I can do whatever I want. But here, it's it's a known territory. The British public are used to a particular standard, and I don't believe I can deliver the standards that I've given in the past. And so I'm looking to hook up with a promoter, and I don't know who as yet, to actually put a fight on here. I will be fighting at light heavyweight, maybe even cruiserweight, I'm not sure. The idea is to get a third world title at light heavy, and then to defend it 3, 4, 5, 6 times. Who knows, I don't know, and see what happens. Steve Collins talks about me getting another title at light heavy, and if I do that, then he'll fight me again.
He has to move up really at light heavy now, doesn't he? He struggled. His last fight, he's too big now for that division. He's too big for super middle.
Well, if that's the case, then I will be up there at light heavy. And you know, Steve, I've had a year's rest, and I haven't been champion now for 5.5 years straight, and I haven't had the press on top of me. And you've had, well, not even half of the pressure that I had when you beat me. And so when we get it on again, I believe I'll slaughter you, to be frank. So we'll see what happens.
Did you see his last fight?
No.
It was. I think he's a much better boxer now than when he fought you. I mean, it was one of the best 3-round fights I've ever seen. He was put on his backside, but I think he's a lot better. One of the things which I could never work out about you was why you lost to Steve Collins in the first fight, because the fight before against Henry Wharton was one of the most complete textbook displays I've seen of boxing, and it was a classical display. And then 5 months later, a boxer who a lot of the public hadn't even heard of before, managed to get the points decision on you. How was that?
Well, what a tribute. I think it has a lot to do with the amount of time I was champion, and the 8-fight deal, what I did with Sky, the £10 million deal, to fight 8 times in 1 year. I was fighting every 7 weeks. If any one of the champions out there tries to fight that amount of times, I doubt whether they'll get past 4. I got past 4. I doubt whether they'll get past 4. So, I mean, I had a good run. I'm a dangerous man, and you live and learn. I took on a bit too much, and I couldn't show it. And that's cool. I mean, I've learned, I've gone on, and I've been the first person to bring boxing into the Middle East, or that region of the world. And that's gratifying and satisfying because it's historical. And now, obviously, you can't just go and bring boxing into a region of the world. I mean, once you get back in, the attitude or what one must do is basically head for a world title again, and that's what I'm going to be doing.
Do you think that my theory with the Steve Collins fight, trying to make sense, it was that I think, like Tyson, but for different reasons, you won most of your fights before a punch was thrown because you'd psyched him out. And I think Steve Collins was the first guy that turned the tables on you. And I think that with the shenanigans that Steve Collins was up to, that he may have won that first fight, before a punch was thrown. He did a Eubank on you.
Well, with the hypnosis thing, that brought back into thinking the Michael Watson fight. I didn't know how he was that strong. That was well documented. I didn't know how he could have been so strong when I'd fought him 4 weeks before, and he was just a normal man 4 weeks before. And that played on my mind, and I was thinking, with all this talk of him being under hypnosis, okay, it freaked me out. still, you live and learn. Good tactic, fine. Second fight, he beat me fair and square. He fought like an absolute maniac.
Super fit that fight, wasn't he?
Yeah.
It was just, yeah.
But the strategy was, well, the only way he could have beaten me was to do something as foolish as what he did, which is to fight like a maniac, in a maniacal type fashion, amateurish, ungamely, and my attitude from the beginning of the fight was, you know, any minute now I'm going to catch him, and that minute never came, and a great deal of good things have come out of that for me. You know, not losing for, well, most of my career. That was my 44th fight. It done a great deal of good for me.
Did it make you aware of your own mortality? Like, you know, made you realise that you weren't, before that, did you think you were invincible?
No, and a fighter never does. I mean, even if he says differently, I mean, every fighter knows that he can be beat. We're all human beings. We may be talented, we may have great resolve, we may be very talented, but everyone can be beaten. One should know who they're going to fight, and one should know their skill, know whether they are capable of beating a particular man. I always have believed, and I believe to this day, that Steve Collins is not in my league as a fighter, and the only way I'm going to be able to prove that now is to get another chance to fight him. And it's all on the premise that I was champion for 5.5 years, and taking on 8 fights in 1 year was just too much for anybody. And so at that particular point in time, anyone could have beaten me, so to speak.
Yeah, yeah. You said about the problems of promoting yourself. When you decided to come back from retirement, did you decide from the off to promote yourself, or did you approach Warren or Hearn or Maloney and any of those guys?
No, I got the opportunity to fight in the Middle East. I was certainly not going to bring other promoters there. I was going to try and do it myself. I had paid my dues, literally, and I was going to try and use my experience to put on fights, promoting myself. And I thought, well, how hard can it be? And it is too hard, in fact. It's not possible.
Would you sign up with one of those guys now, then?
Yes, and I'm looking to do that. But it would be on a very different basis to what it was before. You know, all business deals which are spoken about shall be spoken about in my presence. And if not, then minutes will be taken of a particular meeting. You learn a great deal. You place a lot of trust in these people. They do a good job. I don't say they don't do a good job, but they take a bit more credit than what they deserve. We, after all, do all the hard work. And I think fighters deserve a little bit more credit for that. We are the nucleus. Without us, the promoters don't exist. But it's so that the promoters have made it so that without them, that we can't move.
When thinking back to your fights against Ben and the war of words before those, if you came back now and fought Steve Collins, would there be as kind of big a war of words, or would you say that you personally have a new humility now?
You know, I've got the humility, but I also have conviction in the fact that this man is not fit to tie my shoelaces up. And with that...
But he has beaten you twice.
For me, it really makes no difference. I mean, every man loses. Every man loses twice, let's say, or 3 times, or however long you're going to prolong your career. Everyone comes into defeat. I've got 2 defeats on my record to 1 man. Steve Collins has lost 3 times. Tyson's lost, Holyfield's lost. The greatest fighters in the world have lost. Muhammad Ali lost. We all lose. It makes us stronger people. It makes us better people. If you're going to go on, then you must get stronger. It's that maybe I underrate him. I mean, I've been told that you shouldn't underrate this man. But you see, the reason why I don't think there needs to be any war of words with Steve Collins is because I know now what he's capable of doing. He's capable of fighting like an absolute maniac, and with that maniacal type attitude is absolute resolve. And just to know that he's now, just for me to know that he's capable of doing that, I can throw down as well. I think if it came down to two men just standing there throwing punches toe to toe, I would always come out on top. But if you remember the last fight, I was cool as ice, right away through the fight,
Yeah.
too cool. And I was standing there after, just before the decision came, I was standing there and I had one hand on my waist and I was just looking down and thinking, I can't believe what this guy's just done.
Yeah.
I couldn't believe it, you know. So